Hello. Welcome back to another episode of What Sticks with Sid Anderson. Still getting the hang of things around here, but I felt the need to want to clarify something and just jump right into a subject. Moving forward, I am going to be referencing God a lot. And I think the reason in episode 2 why I wanted to give so much background on where I believed my beliefs around organized religion came from was because I realized at the beginning of my spiritual awakening that I defined and I assumed that the word God was only associated with organized religion. Therefore, it was not for me. And this became confusing when I came to that lunch and learn that kind of cracked me open, right? That we talked about on episode number 3. And this woman was using the word God, which usually, as per my history, I would have been like, nope, not for me. Like, I'm not religious. Like, no, thank you. Like, I know that there's a lot of very devout, maybe LDS people, because that was my experience, right? Is I only had experience with organized religion and Mormonism growing up in Utah. And so whenever I heard the word God, that's what I associated it with. However, this mentor of mine used this phrase and it opened me up to thinking differently. And that's the only reason I sat through her training that day. It's the only reason I showed up for another 2-day event. And then I ended up doing a year-long program, which I will be referencing a lot because this, like, literally, it was like the catapult for me to jump and deep dive and for me to look inward and decide things for myself that I never really realized I had my mind made up about until it was questioned, okay? So, since I'm going to be referencing the word God, I want to define what this means to me now. So, when she used the phrase, she said, yeah, I'm going to use the word God, but I want you, if that's not your word, God's my word. She's like, I am a very like God-centric person. She was like, if you want to fill in whenever I use the word God with universe, with a higher power, with Gaia, with Mother Nature, whatever it is, like, please do that. I'm going to use the word that's authentic and true to me, but I want you to know that I am open to whatever like your truth is and like your experience is. And just that phrase like released me of so much like tension around the word God because I was putting so much meaning on it. And again, this is subconscious, okay? And so a little layer gets peeled back of like, like I grew up, my mom always used to talk about the universe. We used to go on nature walks all the time, and we would find rocks and be really in tune with just being outdoors and like the animals and just the trees and plants. Like my mom was very good at helping us like tap into that part of ourselves, and she always kind of referenced universe. Well, as I've referenced before, my parents have a history with the word God, right? Like they were raised, both of them were raised LDS, married in the temple together, and so my household growing up, the word I probably heard the most was universe. Unless I was inquisitive, they were always open to talking to me about their beliefs with God and what they believed at that point in time. So I had an opportunity to do, like when I first did a visualization before, and I've never at this point had done a visualization, so it was very foreign to me. And so someone walked me through where I closed my eyes and there was like music. There was like their voice softened and it slowed down, right? And they were walking me through and connecting with a future version of myself. And so it essentially was like, picture yourself a year from now. If you get everything that you are wanting in life right now, if you accomplish whatever you're setting out to accomplish, what would your life look like? Like, who's present? Like, it was this very intense visualization. And since I had never done one before and I was just like being so open, I was just receiving and kind of absorbing everything I was learning at this point, And I am learning that I am crazy, like, I'm a visual person. Like, I've heard it called clairvoyancy also, if you're familiar with the clairs. So it's like you have a gift with sight. And so visualizations, if I am able to quiet my mind and get to a certain point, I have these crazy experiences. I've had them through breath work and other experiences, but this was like the first one. And so I'm picturing my future self in like 1 year from this day. And I was unearthing and I was talking about and realizing things, like the God being like probably the biggest thing that I walked away from, not realizing like I did not have a source in my life. And that's also what this mentor referenced, is she said, whatever your source is, she believed that we all need, and I agree with this at this point, like that we all need some sort of a source to co-create with, because we aren't meant to be on this earth alone, and there are powers beyond, I think, our comprehension. And I can get like so down the rabbit hole with that. But like, for simple terms, let me tell you my realization with this visualization, and then what this spawned for me, because I think this is important, like moving forward, because I want you to have an understanding of what the word God means to me and like where it came from and how it was born. So, because this is only 2 years ago, y'all, like this is fresh in my life. And for how much I have heard the word God, or like, I have heard, like used, I guess, and spoken about, like, it's just so mind-boggling, my new understanding, because I used to literally just skim over it, and now I'm almost using it in my everyday life, which makes me feel so crazy sometimes, because I'm like, if the people that knew me from my past, and I've been very open with my family and my friends, like if they ask, I will share and tell my new experiences, but I almost am like, man, if people don't understand like what I'm meaning, and they have their own meaning that they're putting on the word God, then they could feel like I did and just be like, no, not for me. So I think this is important. Okay, back to the visualization. Okay, let's pop back over there. Okay, so I am having this visualization, and you're supposed at a point in she was walking you through like your appearance and how significant this was. It was like, what does she look like? Like, what is she wearing? Is she wearing something flowy? Is she wearing something like colorful? Like what is she wearing? How does she look? Like, what does her hair look like? And I had this big moment of everything about and she referenced her as a queen, everything about my future self queen was different than how I was in that room that day. And it was this big wake up call to me, because my queen, she was blonde. She had flowy long hair, and it was curled. It just like or it was wavy. It wasn't curled. And she had a flowy like gown on, and she almost had this like glow, this radiance about her. And then the other significant thing that stood out to me is she was wearing this hat. If you guys are familiar in Utah, like with Gigi Pip hats, I have a lot of those. I love those. She was wearing a hat. And after I was walked through this, we did some other exercises, and I kind of had this like aha driving home that day. And I was just like, holy crap, like my visualization was trying to get me back to like my true self, because at that time, and when I say blonde too, it was like actually more like my color, like dirty blonde, because I'm sitting in this room with like chocolate brown hair. Okay, it's chopped to here. And this is just 1 month fresh of me releasing myself and letting go of my position, working with my parents so closely. And also okay, so let's dive into like the significance a little bit. So she looks totally different appearance wise. She's wearing something I probably wouldn't wear, and then the hat. And I just had these like big ahas of like, holy crap, like I have altered my appearance since I can remember, trying to do what I thought other people wanted me to do. Like, I had this memory in my head with a hat of people in my life that were really close to me that would laugh and just be like, how can you like pull that off? Like, what makes you feel like you can wear those hats? And those are the feelings. Again, like, it's so funny when I retell these stories, I'm like, I guarantee they did not use those words, but that's what like I heard in my head. Like, you know how sometimes someone will say something and based off our own experiences, we translate it, and like our head like literally will say a new sentence, like formulate a sentence based off of how we feel about ourselves, or like or what our relationship is with that person. We kind of like interpret what they're really trying to say. And these were some people really close to me in my life, so I probably did both of those things. And anyway, so I stopped wearing the hats. I didn't there was like actually like an event that was centered around the hats that I brought a hat to, and I whipped it on my suitcase and was super excited. And that's when like those comments were kind of made. And I put it back in the suitcase and I never wore it. And since then, I have now probably have five more of those like Gigi Pip style hats. And I love them and they make me so happy. And because it's expression to me, I've always, like from a young age, I always loved to layer clothes, to wear different patterns, to wear like an assortment of colors, and to also have accessories. And as I got older, all those things kind of dwindled. Like, I remember when I lived in Wyoming, I referenced this, I started to buy clothes that were like gray, black, and white because I didn't want like these bright colors to stand out. I felt like I needed to mute myself because I was going through a phase where I wore really bright colors. And so this visualization led me to the final realization of kind of like the day 2 of this event. It was a 2-day event. So I had those realizations driving home and I'm like, holy crap, like, and I also dyed my hair for the first time in my life. I grew up blonde. Everyone knew me as a blonde, like everyone from my childhood, everyone that like my family, everything. I was always dirty blonde. And I went and I dyed my hair like almost black, like this chocolate, deep brown. And I was like, now I get it. I get why girls dye their hair so dramatically. Like, I've never done this my entire life. I've gone through just like being a blonde. And when I remember when I dyed my hair, it was a few months after that relationship that was years and years that I referenced in episode number 1. And it was that Wyoming relationship where I muted myself, right? And his nickname for me actually was Blondie. And it was like, it wasn't a term of endearment. It was like it wasn't like a positive thing. And it's because I had like that platinum blonde hair that seemed to stand out like everything else about me. At least that's how they made me feel. And anyways, so I went complete opposite after that relationship, and I felt like I got a new identity. And I was like, man, I get this now. Like, I get why girls change their hair so drastically, or like chop it off, or do whatever, like these extremes, because it is like, I mean, it's around our face. It's what shapes our face. And it also like brings out certain tones and colors in our face. And so it literally gives you like this refresh on your appearance. And anyways, so I was just so far away from this like future visualization of myself that really started to spawn all those like little memories, like boom, boom, like, oh my gosh, this is probably why I pictured blonde. Oh my gosh, this is probably why I pictured a hat, because this future version of myself was fully expressed and was literally glowing, like radiating with joy, like, and was literally floating. Okay. And by the end of day 2, there's another God piece in here that I want to throw in, because there was a point in time where there was a girl sitting in front of me and she was processing something, and she was religious, and she was Mormon. And so she was referencing God from being born in the church, probably being like baptized from a young age, and just like always knowing her life was centered around God, but like possibly not knowing like the deeper purpose of why the little phrases that she says, like not having like this deep feeling behind those words. It's just like, oh, well, we trust God. Like, that's what we say. And that's kind of what I have gotten from a lot of relationships and friends in the past, is like they say things, but like the energy behind what they say like isn't necessarily there, if that makes sense. So this girl is literally sitting directly in front of me in the chair in front of me, And the mentor is standing at the top of the room, and she's asking her some really deep questions, and she's pressing because, again, I think she could tell what I could tell also is that the words that were coming out of her mouth and like the belief she was stating she had didn't match her energy. Like, and I'm sure you guys can relate to that. Like sometimes you can't pinpoint it, but you're like, something about what you're saying like just doesn't match up, right? So she just keeps pressing her, and the answer to whatever this question was kept being like, well, I know if I just trust God, he's got me. And the mentor kept saying, but do you believe that? And then she would kind of like sit there for a little bit and be like, well, yeah, I know that God has me. She's like, but do you believe that? Like in your body, do you believe that? And so then she'd sit there again and she would just basically like circulate the same answer, okay? Meanwhile, I am sitting directly behind this girl, bawling, and there's like 20 women in this room, okay? So I am like literally trying to control myself. I am like dry heave crying, like, and I like couldn't, you know, like when you're releasing so much emotion that you like start to choke up or like cough or like understanding now throat chakra, like having this block of expressing myself, and I'm sitting there feeling like she was actually processing me because her eye contact looked like it was coming to me, not the girl in front of me. And when she just kept looking so deeply and being like, but do you believe that? I literally broke and was like, I don't believe in anything. Like this huge realization of like, holy crap, I don't have a source that I believe in. Yes, some words have been thrown around my life in my lifetime, but like I don't have something that I believe in like in my body. Okay, so this is like my state, okay? I am just cracked open like an egg, and I am just like ready to really like spelunk in my BS and go deeper than just like surface level answers, which is what I'm used to at this point. And okay, so now fast forward to the end, by the end of day 2, my big aha that I realized is I was just like, holy crap, I have been such a, like just going through the motions like as a person that like to the point that when I look in the mirror, I look right past myself. I look at, okay, I'm fixing my hair, I'm putting on a little bit of makeup, but I never like look and experience the person I'm looking at in the mirror. Like, can anyone else relate to that? Because that hit me like this huge weight, like this like ton of bricks dropped on me. Like it was just this heavy thought, and it was so sad, and I was so freaking emotional. Like I was so freaking emotional because I was just like, this is so sad. Like this is sad for me that, and to me, that when I look in the mirror, I don't see myself as a human being. Like I'm so caught up in all this like competitive nature and proving nature and trying to be what I think others need from me that I don't even know who this person standing in front of me in the mirror is. Okay, so this was like, holy shit moment. So then my life kind of flips upside down at this point, and I used to describe it, and I still would use this, but at the time I remember telling people, I'm like, I just feel like this veil on my world was just lifted up, and I'm just seeing everyone so differently. Like I was seeing clearer, and it was almost like damaging for myself because I felt like I could see, I was like woken up to my humanity, and I could now see the glazed over eyes of the people around me, and that they were where I was before I was cracked open. And I was just like, this is fucking hard. Because now, even something as simple as going to Costco with my girls, which you all can relate to this and know that like kids, there's like this magic innocence about kids, and especially like the young ones, how like, so my daughters in particular are very, very outgoing and friendly. So like if someone walks by them, they are waving, they are saying hello, they have these big blue eyes, these big smiles on their face. And I was noticing, we go to Costco, and I started to notice that they would like have, and this is one in particular instance that I will never get out of my head. There was like this elderly gentleman walking past my girls, and his eyes were down on the floor. He's by himself. And me, my husband, it's like a whole family ordeal at this point. I don't think Bria was not born, but I don't know if I was pregnant at this point. So we're having like a little Costco family day. And so just the two of the girls, and they are both just like having so much fun. I was feeling like this new spirit about me. Like my soul had been kind of like a layer of it had been unlocked. Sorry, I keep tapping the mics. That's probably really annoying. But, and, where was I? Let's see. Regroup. Okay, so I had this like new spirit about me. So Mitch had shared this video of people turning like the cart, like the grocery cart around when kids are sitting in like the little kids' little seat. I don't know. And you turn it around and they feel like it's a roller coaster. So you like push it and they're not facing you, they're facing outwards. And it's so funny. You watch both the girls go, wow, like they're holding on for dear life, and it does look roller coaster-esque. And we were doing that. Like I was just in such heightened, like good energy. And this man, he's walking towards us, and you can clearly hear my girls, both of them, hi, hello. They're waving, they're smiling so big. And this man continues to walk past our cart without even looking up, without even like, just even like a hand motion or anything. And it broke my freaking heart because I was just like, whoa. And it happened time and time again. And maybe not as dramatic as the guy like looking at the floor, but the glazed over, the like, the disconnectedness, the like, phrase I actually heard this week that I was like, that's it, is a walking corpse. Like there's no livelihood to these people. And then I'd go to Starbucks, because if you guys know me, I used to work from Starbucks for years and years and years. I still go. I'm about to go on a lunch date with my sis here in a little bit, which I'm super excited about. And it's just a place to me that like I can get out of a home, I can get out and be around people, and like and I feel like Starbucks has curated an environment where it does feel homey. And anyway, so I started to notice like with the baristas, even like the baristas that did make eye contact with me were like my best friends. Like I even had a barista at one point, she ended up moving because of this very reason we're talking about, actually, of like people being disconnected, and like she wanted connectivity, but she would call me by name and she would smile. And I know that's part of like the whole Starbucks thing, but she had something like this sparkle about her, this like radiance about her. And I will never forget her. Like she made an impact on me when I was going through these tough, like unearthing realizations about who I was. And I'd go into the Starbucks and I would literally be like craving eye contact. I'd be craving conversation. I'd be craving humans, like a human experience. And I would be met with people, like I get coffee every day, okay? And I'm like, it would really bum me out that I'm like, if I was a barista that got orders every single day, I would watch them call some people by name and like, I don't know. But I would get so bummed when people like wouldn't look at me and be like, hey, Sydney, how are you doing today? Until this one barista did. And she made a huge difference for me because I felt seen. I felt like I was actually existing, because here Mitch goes off to work. My girls are in daycare. I'm working. And like, I'm kind of like a freelancer at this point. Like I'm doing branding, I'm doing real estate, and then like a lot of like just helping friends with marketing and friend visits in general. I don't know. So I'm like, I don't have like this regular type community as an employee might, or and so anyways, so that made a big difference for me. And I just felt like I was almost like awoken up to those like walking corpses. Like how crazy is that analogy? Like doesn't that just like give you such a visual? And And it was so hard to unsee at this point. Like, it was just like all this mindlessness going on, and it made me feel fucking crazy. Like, I started to be like, all of a sudden I had this veil lifted, right? And I started to be like, I don't know how to function in the world I was in before, because I was functioning with the veil down and not realizing that I wasn't experiencing like a human experience, okay? So now I realize, like, I need source, right? Like, I need a source in my life. And then I realize, like, the connectivity, the being woken up to the human experience and to like me as a human, and that I don't have to go through life just mindlessly walking around and like going through my day to day. And the idea of co-creation was so beautiful to me, because I've always created better. Like, as a woman who needs community, I have always created better when I have a brainstorming buddy, when I have someone to bounce ideas off of, when I have someone that I can talk openly and freely to. That's part of why I took on so many responsibilities working with my parents, is because my dad and I had this crazy, crazy co-creative relationship where we just would make things happen, like, quickly and unbelievably, almost, because we'd get in this creative energy, and it was just so heightened, and it action would just like ensue naturally because we were aligned to the things we were talking about and brainstorming. And so the idea of co-creation and not like being on this earth alone, and then having this new concept of like, you can co-create with a higher source, blew my mind. Like, it just blew my mind, because I'd never thought that that was possible. Like, or never even crossed my mind that that was something that would now become a part of my everyday life, that I'm like trying to consciously like bring from the subconscious to the conscious, and consciously make an effort on the daily to co-create with source. And what I mean by that is, I feel like we are taught, and this is something that I always would help clients with, and conversations that come up with my friends almost every single day, is, okay, in order to receive something, right, from this source or the universe, or for the universe, one of my favorite phrases, for the universe to do and I ruin it. For the universe to delight you, in order for the universe to delight you, you kind of have to make a decision of what you want. So then you can receive whatever that is. Because I know I struggle with this so bad. I waver, and I have so many areas of interest and so many things I'm really passionate about that I go to shutdown mode. But the problem with that is, if I'm not able to articulate what I want to experience, like what I would like to be delivered to me, it can't be. Because if you think about it this way, like, how can someone give you what you want if they don't know what that is, right? And so this common conversation of like, well, you just need to make a decision and then just take one small step in that direction, is a conversation I have seriously almost daily with people. But it's not just taking a step, it's taking a step in faith that it will work out. And the universe then can, all of a sudden, you're going to see all these things that have been right in front of you. Like, your reticular activator is now activated, right? Like, you always hear the example about the car. Like, you all of a sudden make up your mind of like, oh my gosh, like, the car that my husband and I want is a Telluride. And it's like, or the Tahoe, right? And it's like the new Tahoe, that big ass Tahoe. I love it so much. And it's like, okay, I want a Tahoe now. All of a sudden you're driving down the street and you see them everywhere. It's because you've activated your brain to see what you want. And then all of a sudden, this is what's so beautiful about practicing this, is there are things right in front of you, like almost every single day. But if you don't give yourself enough time to articulate and maybe even digest and sit with what you really want, you can't see them, because your mind is not activated to see them or to receive them. And sometimes, like right now, I'm going through another layer of this. It's just constant. Like, I feel like once I've gotten in this space, it's just like every day is like this new challenge, this new trial. And such a big reason of why I wanted to create this podcast is because, like, I struggle so deeply in my own thoughts that it's very difficult for me to like speak them out. And then when I do, it almost makes me go a little more crazy. And then I shut off. And so I'm trying to push myself to sit with myself and my own thoughts and like actually decide what I want, because it's too easy to just plug into everyday life and just keep going and to numb out and to experience that mindlessness and become that walking corpse. And I don't want that for myself. I know a lot of you listening, if you're listening, you probably, that's not the experience you want here in this human experience that we're meant to have. And so the struggle is like we get caught in the how do we make the decision? Like, what should we do? And then we look to external sources. And that's when all the shoulds come in and the confusion, and then the shutdown ensues, because we aren't able, I feel like in this day and age, like between socials, between like, early socials is like huge, between the internet, between just all the immediate available information we have in our world today, it is almost, I find it very, very difficult, almost impossible at times, to sit quietly with myself and actually make those decisions. And that's where it needs to come from, is it needs to come from you. Yes, I can call my sister, I can call my husband, I can call my best friend and ask their opinion, but ultimately, like, I have to do what lights me up, and what lights me up won't necessarily light my husband up and won't necessarily light my sister up. And so it's getting comfortable with recognizing what does give you joy and what really does light you up. And it's not just a should do. It's not just a like, I'm doing this for a ulterior motive that I'm not even aware of. Like, man, this shit gets deep. And so I kind of want to end on this. It's kind of a shorter episode. I still don't know what kind of a length of an episode I want to do, but I really just wanted to touch on the whole God stuff, because I really want it to come across the way I feel, which I don't feel like God is like a single vessel. It feels like everything to me. It feels like multiple energies. It feels like Mother Nature. It feels like Heavenly Mother, which I also learned about in the last 2 years. Didn't know she existed, apparently. And that also like goes to show like the balance of the feminine and the masculine is like, there isn't just a God. There's supposedly a Heavenly Mother that people learn about in organized religion that I had never heard about, since I never went to like formalized church or anything like that. Oh, look at the rainbows on my jacket right now. I have like this little crystal in my window and it's reflecting on my jacket. That just made me so happy. I love crystal and like the light being refracted. It's so beautiful to me. Okay, so I want to wrap this up. I guess let me finish that God thought. One more thing. So the whole God thought, it's just, I say the word God because it's the only thing I know how to say, like, because it feels bigger than just like a single vessel though to me. And that's the only way I really know how to describe that, is I'm just like, it's so vast. Like, we will never understand the workings of the universe probably in this human life. But I just feel like there's so much more. But that word, like, I have gotten used to using it and it feels good because I have this new appreciation, new understanding, if you will, right? And so I just want to end with a thought that got brought up yesterday, is that your opinion of your life or whatever you're doing is the only one that matters. And so back to, yes, we can reach out to external sources. And I think as women, the more I'm getting into this too, the more I'm realizing how much I need validation to move forward. Like, I seek validation daily. And it feels really good to be validated because I feel fucking crazy sometimes with all this new level of awareness, this new veil that's been lifted, this like awakening. And this is like layer by layer, okay? Like it has gotten deeper and deeper and deeper. The more I've explored, the more I've leaned in, the more I have surrendered. Oh, that's a whole another topic. Whew. And ultimately, I just want to reiterate this for myself and for everyone listening, that our opinions of ourself is what's most important. Because if we don't feel good about what we're doing moving forward, the energy won't be right. If we don't feel good about maybe what we're talking about, authenticity can't be expressed. There's so much to feeling like, I mean, the phrase like being aligned, right? Like when you feel aligned with something, but not just like it's so much deeper than just being aligned, because I think there's so many overused terms these days, like the perfectionism, like the alignment, like the trauma, like there's triggering. There's all these overused words these days to where I feel like they almost blanket all these other terms in and they lose their impact. Like it doesn't like hit the way that it used to, because everyone talks about these topics. And I feel like alignment is one of those things that like I would hear and I just be like, like I don't feel anything behind that. And I had to go through my own experiences to then feel that word. Because when you are not aligned or you don't believe what you're doing, if you aren't receiving joy from what you're doing, and like you have been woken up to this new reality where you can't just plug and chug anymore, which was my life for years, it's not easy anymore. It's not easy to, it becomes more difficult. And this road of getting to know yourself and this new version of you, like, starts again. And I think we go through this over and over in our lifetime. But I think we're taught, or like some of us are raised to think it just happens like one time. Like we find out who we are, boom, we know who we are for the rest of our life. I can't tell you how many times I've changed my thoughts and the way I talk, like just in the last 2 years. And giving myself permission to do that has been so freaking hard. Like just giving myself the permission instead of like putting these labels on myself of like not trusting what I'm saying or like questioning what I'm saying, then the energy isn't received right because I'm questioning myself. And ultimately, my opinion is the only one that matters, right? So moving forward, the reason I started this podcast and even got the idea for the name Everything is because I started writing in this notebook the things that were sticking for me and really impacting me, and would give me these ahas, and I would be sharing with everyone in my life that I would come into contact with. I would be like, oh my gosh, do you want to hear about this crazy thing I just learned yesterday? And if they're my people, they're like, hell yeah, leaning in, share it. And I want to just flip through this notebook and I want to share these things because every single thing in here made a huge impact in my identity and who I am today. And I'm continuously trying my hardest to write things in here. And that opinion, the only opinion that matters is your own, landed in there yesterday. So there's that last little nugget. I hope something stuck for you today. And I love these freaking rainbows. It's on my face now. I am gradually getting more comfortable with this, but I am giving myself permission to change this podcast. I mean, I've been changing my location. I added this fun little mic and these headphones, which I never actually referenced because I was crying the episode that I like got them. Oh my gosh, I'm so distracted, like so squirreling right now with this rainbow on my face. It's making me so happy. So I never got to reference these headphones and the headphones and the mic, but I'm trying to express myself and like take time and really lean into what feels good to me. And man, this color has been coming into my life. I love it so much. I'm not a black person. anymore, which if you knew me like 2 years ago, that's all I wore. I mean, look at all this color. And I actually did a color analysis, which is also in my notebook that I will be talking about, revealing that I'm an autumn. And these are both autumn colors. Gold is the autumn, and this is the autumn color. And it just has been coming into my life, like the pillows in the background. And anyways, okay, I could keep talking about this. So until next time, I hope something stuck from today. Thanks for just hanging out with me and helping me have the courage to just keep showing up and figure this thing out.